Good afternoon, Hillcrest family. This is Mark Johnson coming to you live from the east side of the putting green here at Hillcrest Country Club. Today is Thursday, May 7th, and this is yet another series of our virtual golf education coming to you live on YouTube. Again, thanks for letting us come into your computers, your tablets, your phones. As always, if there's any questions or comments, this is a live session. We'll get them answered here on air right away. If you're viewing this replay, call us, email us. Any questions, comments. What things you liked about it. I mean, we want to hear the feedback. So I hope this whole series for everyone has been very, very helpful over the last few weeks. Again, I said in my last segment how much fun this has been for us, and it really truly meant that. This has been a lot of fun for us, and we're happy to do it. So thank you for all the people that have been viewing it, and we've submitted questions and comments. We appreciate it. So so we're gonna get started today. Coming at this from a little bit of a different direction. So in my lesson that I did with Travis last week, we hit specifically, an area of the golf swing that has plagued a lot of people. It's called a shank, and he had been doing that for a while. And we talked about some strategies he could use to correct that and make himself better. And lo and behold, he did. Well, when it comes to the short game, particularly putting today, the ugly sister of the shank is what we call a yip. So talk about some yips today and some yippy feelings and yippy strokes and what that really is, and what are some strategies we can use to try to help us out to correct the yips. I think it's safe to say that much like the shank, when you have the yips with the putting stroke, it's highly embarrassing. It's highly emotionally draining on us. It just doesn't make us feel good when we do it. So we're embarrassing our friends and our groups when we do that in front of everybody, and it's just not something that we want to have happen. Unfortunately, just like most emotional things, the more we want it to go away, the less it does. So we kind of have to understand, exactly what it is first. And then we can talk about some strategies to make it better. But let's first understand what yips are. Yips are primarily just a fear of making putts. And it can be a putt of any length. It doesn't matter how long the putt is. It could be this far. It could be 50 feet. It could be a lag putt. So it really doesn't matter how long the putt is, but it's a fear that we have in our brain. So I think once we understand that it's just a fear and we can overcome it, things will start to kind of pan out for you and be a little bit better. So one of the ways that I like to describe the yips when I have lessons about this is, they're negative thoughts. It's really all they are. It's a negative thought that's entered your brain. What do we do every day at work? We handle hundreds of tasks, and we complete them with ease and with efficiency, and we we please a lot of people. But then there's that one task or that one person or whatever that just didn't go well, and that's what you take home with you at night. It's that one negative thing, and it's kind of eerily similar to a yip. It can be any sort of a yippy feeling, but it's that negative thought, and that's the negative thought. Unfortunately, they outweigh the positive thought. So we have to replace those negative thoughts with positive ones, and understand they're not just thoughts. They're like movies in our brain. So imagine a train going by, and each car of the train is a different movie. And each movie is negative. And so we're just seeing all these negative images fly by us. That's our thought. So when we get over a putt and we have a tendency to yip, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Oh God, don't yip, or don't miss it, or this is a 1 foot putt for a par. Gosh, don't miss this. That'll be embarrassing. Well, you're going to miss it because you just told yourself that. So we got to replace these negative thoughts. The only way to replace a negative thought is to introduce a positive one and have a positive thought start to be placed on that train car as it goes by. So we're seeing positive movies, not negative movies. So that really, I know is a long explanation, but it's an accurate explanation about what happens in our brain when we're setting up to putt and we feel that this tremor, if you will, with our putting stroke. So that's the emotional and the explanation of what it really is. How does it affect our putting stroke physically? Well, it comes in the form of a tremor, as I like to call it. So, the shaking of our hands, or a jerking of our hands or our arms, it doesn't matter, but that's the physical nature of the yip. It's that tremor. So you might ask yourself, well, if it's a physical tremor, how do we get rid of that? And the answer is you may not be able to at some point. I mean, maybe there's something physically going on with your body. I don't know, but most people that I've come into contact with the yips, they're able to, through a lot of focus and training, they're able to make themselves a lot better, as I sincerely believe all of you can just by watching this video. So so now we know what the yip is. We know what the physical effects are on our body with the yip. So let's talk about some strategies to enable us to try to get over the yips. There's some simple ones out there that we can talk about right off the bat. A lot of times, so I have currently, this is my Spider putter. It's a mallet sized putter head. About 35.5 inches is the height of it that I like. I have a 3.0 grip on it, which means it's a little bit bigger than normal, but it's not nearly as big as the biggest ones out there. So there's some alterations that I've made to the putter to make myself feel comfortable. If you've not altered your putter at any point, during the process of trying to fix your yips, that might be the first thing you look at. I mean, a new grip like this is, it's a $20 investment, right? And $20 could really make a big difference with your putting yips. So the idea behind a bigger grip versus a smaller grip like this is it allows our hands to be less involved. It takes way more effort to maneuver our hands around a bigger grip than it does a smaller grip. So that's one thing we could do. We could possibly change the grip on our putter. Another thing that we could do, this might be a little bit extreme, but you could change putters entirely. We know how emotional the yips are, so it makes sense if you're staring down at your putter and it doesn't look good to you and you're not comfortable. The chances of you having a quality strike on your putt probably pretty slim. Maybe just change the scenery, get a different style putter. This is my other putter that I use from time to time. This is a blade style. It's a Ping Zing 2, very old school, but it's a completely different look. So as I look down from above, two totally different sides of the spectrum as far as putters go. So, a different look might really make a difference. Maybe it's a different length. Maybe we can install a plug in your putter and increase the length by a few inches. That'll make it a different feel for you. Maybe we can shorten it. These are things that you can do to alter, not only the putter itself that you're using, but the feel of the putter, and then more importantly for us as a player, the view of the putter. What are we seeing? So those are some easy remedies that we can do right off the bat without even talking about being fully strategic on how to fix the yips. Those are just a couple of options that you could try that might really make a difference for you. And they're not that expensive to do. I think it might really make some sense for you to do something like that. All right, so let's talk about some actual strategies to fix the putting yips. Number one, I firmly believe you got to have good technique. And if we focus on good technique, chances are you're just gonna put yourself in a position to execute. So kind of get to a more or less a robotic state with your practice sessions and be totally consumed with technique and take feel out of it. Now, I know that most of us want to try to get to a place where we're using feel as our main source of energy for the golf swing. I get that. But this is something very specific and it's very emotional. So we gotta find ways to take our mind off of the task at hand and put our mind on something different. Let's put our mind on technique. Okay. My latest putting video, we talked a lot about getting our elbows pointed this way, in, if you will, versus being sideways. We talked a lot about the Y. So this is the stem of the capital letter Y in the English language. My arms are the two arms of the Y. So these two putting techniques are going to be the biggest strategy you can use technique-wise to fix the yips. When we have the yips, as we're coming into it, something is tremoring. Our trail hand, our lead hand, maybe it's our wrists or our forearms a little bit, but something is tremoring, okay? So if we can figure out a way to keep this whole piece totally locked and not allow this shaking or tremoring to happen, we're going to be in a better spot. So I want to really emphasize the technique of the Y theory and your elbows, facing, I guess would be in. I call them out, but I guess would be in. I want to really focus on those two strategies to get your stroke to be a little bit more fluid. And it is a technique, and I need you to, when you practice putting, to be totally consumed with the thought of those two pieces of the puzzle. Let me grab some balls here real quick. So if I'm going to start practicing these two techniques to kind of emphasize where my brain needs to be, I don't want my brain thinking about, oh gosh, don't miss the putt, or oh gosh, don't tremor. I want my brain to be focused on the technique itself, so all I have to do is execute. So I would start out with just, I'm not even going to a hole. I'm just going towards the fringe area here. And I'm just going to get myself set. I'm going to put the ball right in the center of my stance. Try to get my head over the ball as best I can. I'm going to put my hands on the golf club. And again, my elbows are this way. I've created this Y, and all I'm doing, I don't even know that the ball's there. I'm not even thinking about the golf ball. I'm not even thinking about the stroke. All I'm thinking about is making sure that this Y that I've created doesn't break down, right? I'm not thinking about, am I going to tremor? I'm not thinking about, am I going to miss the putt? I'm just thinking about this Y. So I get myself set, and I just allow this Y to go back and through. And I think it's important to say that when you start practicing stuff like this with regards to the yips, I wouldn't go for a hole right off the bat. I would go for something like I'm doing, just towards the fringe, where in my brain, I'm telling myself there's no hole. So I can't miss it and I can't make it. So what does the stroke become? Well, inconsequential. It really doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter because there's no end result. So I'm just trying to stroke this putter and not allow these tremors to enter in. That's my main goal. So again, get set. Don't have a hole. Don't go for any hole. You don't want an end result. Get yourself set. Elbows this way. Keep the Y moving back and through. And allow those arms to just work together, back and through. Super, super important, okay? This is probably the two best things you can do for stopping the tremor, okay? Think about it this way. If I allow my Y to break down, so my Y didn't stay together, it broke down completely. My stroke didn't move really. It was now more controlled by my hands. Very indicative of what happens during a yippy stroke. So your hands are, it's usually your hands, but they're taking over and they are controlling what happens via that tremor somehow. Again, no matter where it comes in, either your hands, or your wrists, or your forearms, but they're forcing that to take place. So we got to focus on technique. And like I said, be totally robotic with this and just unhinge your brain from the result and focus your brain on the task at hand. And it's just, again, it's all about executing that task 100%. Another trick that you can do, a lot of yippy players, they mess around with different ways to hold on to the golf club. You can do a left hand low sort of grip. A lot of the old school players would call this cross-handed, but it's really, the terminology now is left hand low. You can try different things. I know you've seen on tour different forms of the claw. We've got much longer putters. These are all, I don't want to say gimmicks, but they're all things that golfers have done to try to help themselves move in an opposite direction of a yippy feeling. So there's a lot of things you can do, with how you hold on to the club, the length of the club itself, and this will really help you kind of figure out, okay, do I need to do something like this, or should I just try technique and get over it via technique? Another thing that I would suggest doing too, I'm almost embarrassed to admit this, but a couple of years ago I had a pretty good bout with the yips, and it took me quite some time to get over it, but I'm over it, and it was a long haul, but I had to do a lot of soul searching and understanding to come up with the reason that it happened for me, which is inconsequential now, but I got over it. there's a few tricks that I did. So number one, I took tees. I just got a couple of golf tees here, and I put them in my trailing hand. Okay, so my trailing hand, which would be the one on the back side of the putter grip, and I would just hold them there while I putted. And you might say to yourself, well, that sounds really dumb. But what it did is it took my brain off of the task at hand, and it put it into, okay, why are you holding tees while you're putting, you dummy? So it kind of changed my thought process and took my brain off of the end result and put it more on, okay, how am I going to make this stroke while I'm holding tees? That's a little odd. So it allowed me to redirect my focus. So now I'm focusing on, how am I going to do this while I'm holding these tees? Well, we could figure it out. Another thing that you can do is, again, with the trailing hand, your right hand, if you will, when you hold on to that putter, this portion of your right index finger, this little curve right here, we can apply some pressure right there. So it's going to be on the back side of the putter grip, where it's going to apply a little bit of pressure right there. And again, what does it do? It takes my mind away from the task at hand. Now I'm not thinking about, the result. I'm thinking about, well, how am I going to make this stroke while I've got a little bit of pressure here, which is abnormal in my grip. I don't normally feel that. So let's see this. How are we able to stroke it with pressure right there? It's just an odd feeling. And next thing you know, you're actually hitting some strokes and you're doing okay with it. So it's kind of fun to kind of mess around and give yourself just different options for how about to go about fixing this. Understand that, this is it could be a long-term problem. So you're probably going to have, plenty of time to kind of investigate some of these theories and what might pan out for you, what might not. But you're having a problem with it, so make sure that you go through all the motions to try to figure out what's really happening and how you can fix this. The other thing that I did, I'm sorry, I make some of these videos based upon what I've done and what works for me. I don't know, I just kind of feel like it's a good way for you to kind of understand where my brain is and my thought process while I'm going through some of this stuff too. So you can see this huge black line I drew on my golf ball. I just grabbed a big Sharpie and I just made a huge line. And what I did was I put the ball down and I would line that huge line up to my target line. And again, I would start with not going to a hole. I would just go to, again, I'm just going to go to this fringe area here. Most putters have on the top of it some sort of an alignment line. If your putter doesn't have that, I would maybe look for a putter that does. But this is going to be crucial for just putting in general, trying to figure out your line. I think trying to figure out our alignment while we're putting is one of the more difficult things in golf. So if we don't have that line, it's going to be even that much more difficult. But for what we're going to do here with as pertaining to the yips, it's going to be super helpful. So I got this line on my golf ball, this huge line, aiming where I want it to be. Then I get the line of my putter directly behind that. And now I'm just going to literally make sure that the line of my putter is going to extend through this line that I've drawn on the golf ball. So I'm making sure that there's extension happening. So keep in mind when we're going through the problems with a yip or the feeling of that yippy stroke, I've mentioned many times there's a tremor that takes place. So when we tremor, that blade is coming into it either like that in a shut position, or it's coming in like that in an open position. But rarely is it coming into the golf ball square like this. So this line I've drawn on the golf ball and the line on the back of my putter, crucial for getting the blade to extend directly through the ball most of the time. So I use this a ton in helping myself getting out of the yips. I spent hours and hours and hours on the putting green trying to get the alignment line on my putter to extend through this line. And it really helped me out a lot. One last tip I'll give you. One of the things that we know about the yips or the yippy feeling, if we can alter the feeling somehow, we're probably going to have better success. If we can alter what it looks like as we're standing over the putt, whether that be a different grip, different length of putter, different shape of putter, whatever it is, if we can alter that look, we're probably going to have a little bit more success yet again. So what I've grabbed here is a sand wedge, and I'm simply going to make some strokes using my sand wedge. And I'm gonna follow that good technique guide, right? So I'm gonna have my elbows this way. I'm gonna have my Y going, but I'm gonna make some putts using my sand wedge, keeping my Y together, back and through. Let me tell you, it's a lot easier to make a putting stroke without a yippy feeling when you're holding a sand wedge versus a putter. So then after I do that a few times, and I grab my putter without even thinking about it, I just get right after it and do the same thing. So what I'm doing is I'm training myself to literally just execute the strategy, okay? Taking my mind out of it, unhinging my brain from what's going on, what I'm seeing, what the negative thoughts are, what that negative movie is, and I'm just unhinging and I'm moving straight to technique, and I'm just trying to execute that technique. So awfully difficult stuff that we've talked about today, and I know that this can be something that makes a person just want to quit golf altogether. Believe me, I've been there. So don't quit golf, but spend some time and find an answer for you, find a way through it. Use some of these things that I've talked about today. They're highly useful to you on your journey trying to figure out how to get rid of the yips. So use them and practice them, and I guarantee you, you're going to find success. That's all I have for you today. I hope I was super helpful for you. Again, stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane, and I hope I was a little bit helpful in making you a better putter. Take care and enjoy the rest of the day.